I hear you perfectly fine, man. I
Beautiful. Well,
appreciate it.
no problem. Lawrence, how you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
Doing well. Busy. I got to be busy today so far. So I don't know why. I'm not sure why. Usually, I think this time of the year. I mean, I think everybody's kind of looking ahead to Memorial Day weekend. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Now it says live. We're not live. I'm just recording.
Um,
The unedited version always goes on to my Patreon,
yeah.
and then I edit and post out to. You know what I'm talking about. Uh,
Absolutely. All good, man.
so we'll get into things here in just a moment. You say you got
Okay.
a probably about a half hour, maybe.
Yeah. It's about 11:45, 11:50 ish, and then we got some practice stuff to shoot out there, and they finish up about 1 o'clock, so I got to go up there a little bit early.
All good, all good. I do appreciate you doing
No,
this.
no problem, man.
I I I thought of I asked Matt about something like this, like getting behind the scenes, getting to know some of the people and their jobs behind,
Mm-hmm.
where people don't know. A couple years ago, and I never got a response. I guess I gotten a little bit bigger, a little bit more trust with Matt Conti and some of the other guys. I
Sure.
guess it's awesome. I love the fact that what you do
Mm-hmm.
is amazing, and
Thank you.
I was just like, man, I want to make sure that everybody kind of gets to know you a little bit and your
Got it.
job and everything. So all right, we'll get this started. Give me one moment.
Where are you at? Where are you out of right now? I'm just kidding.
I'm in
Where you at?
Marion. I
Oh,
live in
okay.
Marion, Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived there for about 4 or 5 months back in 1987.
Oh,
Yeah, I
well,
was there in high
that's
school for a bit. Yeah, I was there in high school. Matter of fact, I'm going to be driving up your way probably here about 2:30, 3 o'clock this afternoon. I'm going to be my wife and I have a lake place up in just a little bit north of Fort Wayne in Angola, Indiana. So
okay.
I'll be heading your way here in a little bit.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life. I make the
Nice.
travel back and forth during training camp when it's
Sure.
available. Yeah.
Yeah. It will be this year. It will be this year, so you're good.
Yeah, yeah. And from what I'm understanding, I mean, I'm crossing fingers, but I heard that Ballard said that there won't be the COVID protocols this year, so maybe I might be able to be on the field during
Yeah.
this. Get the pass to be out there
Yeah.
because I couldn't do it last year. Last year
No, I know
they
that
still
way.
had those. Yeah, it
Right.
sucked.
Keep bugging Conti. Keep bugging him.
He's a good guy. I'm glad we've gotten a much better rapport with each other.
Right.
All right, here we go.
Got fire away.
Three, two, one. Welcome back to Bleav in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. With me today is a special guest. I've got a guy who a lot of you have seen a ton of his work, but don't know the person specifically. So, what I want to do is I want to introduce you. Please tell everybody your name, your job, where they can find you, a little bit about you.
Lawrence, my name is Matt Wilkening, and I am the senior content creation specialist for the Colts. I've been going into my 8th season, and I think if you're gonna, my work is pretty much known. I'm the producer, one of the executive producers, I should say, for With the Next Pick. That's our draft series that we just finished our 4th season. So yeah, just kind of come off the downfall, not the downfall, but just coming off the high of that, which was quite a bit of work from January until the beginning of this month. So now we got a little bit of a time to breathe, to be honest with you. So until training camp starts.
Absolutely. I mean, really, when it comes to content producing, it's difficult during the off season sometimes for all of us other people. But with you, you got this whole new, with the next pick that you've been doing the last few years. Where did that idea come from? And kind of give us a little bit of background information about that, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
No, so back in I'll go back to 2018. We have a guy named Dave Knickerbocker who was hired. He's our vice president of content. And I think he's got to be honest with you, I think he's got a little bit of a longer title. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But he worked for the Chicago Blackhawks. And when he was with the Blackhawks, actually worked for a company called Banner Creative, which was the Chicago Blackhawks production company. And so he had come up with an idea of doing a draft series with the Blackhawks. He came here with the Colts and had the same idea. He approached Chris Ballard and, hey, here's what we're thinking. It would require a lot of trust. It would a lot of kind of background, being in areas that you're not used to having cameras, media. What do you think? And after, multiple discussions with Chris, he agreed to doing it. And so, then with the next pick was formed, I will say, was it 2019, 2020? Yeah, 2019. So we started in 2019, and the first year was, kind of a trial and error thing. I was in the draft room, and I tell people I did not know how to know what I was doing in there. I didn't feel comfortable. You're in there, and you're in there with a room of scouts that are talking about players that you should not be hearing, things about. You see the draft board, you see, grades on players that you're like, wow, I didn't, you get to a point, you're like, when you're on the outside, you're hearing stories about what they might think about players, but you really on the inside, what they think. And it requires a lot of trust being in there to be quiet about it and just kind of I always say I like to be a fly on the wall in that room and do my job, because that's what I'm doing. It's not about being a fan. I know that there's a lot of fans that, things that we do, but it's not about being a fan. It's about doing your job and your job to the best ability and storytelling. And that's my job, is going there and telling the story of what is going on in that draft room, for the months of February and in April and into the draft in early May.
Awesome. That's like a dream job for a lot of people, believe it or not, just to sit there and go, oh my goodness. But like you said, you can't be a fan when you're doing it, because there's a lot of trade secrets and stuff that you cannot put out. And you're talking about, I should not be there, your first season doing that. How worried were you about, oh, I got to edit this so that, these trade secrets and things of that nature does not get out? Because obviously other teams are watching this kind of stuff and trying to glean any information that they can. What's the process like to make sure that none of that kind of information gets out?
So I live by this rule, and I think a lot of people who have worked in video production and even in the TV world, when in doubt, leave it out. And I've always lived up to that. And so what'll happen is, I've been around quite a bit. And I'll give you a little bit of a background. I was at WTHR for 16 years. I was their sports, I was a producer, videographer, editor. I kind of did a little bit of everything. So being in sports for so long has kind of gave me an idea of, I know what can get out and not get out. And so what the process is, what I'll do is I'll go into the edit booth and I'll work on a piece. It's a 4-part series, and I'll work on part 1. And when I'm done with it, we'll kick it over, and it has multiple eyes. We'll have different producers look at it in the building. Chris Ballard looks at it. Ed Dodds looks at it. One of the scouts look at it, just to make sure that, hey, there's no trade secrets. And very, 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 very few times, Lawrence, have they ever come back with, probably need to take this out. Hey, I don't know if we want to get this, hey, this is a situation where we probably need to eliminate this. Maybe once a year out of the part series, they'll say, hey man, let's just take this part out, because this might do this or that. But for the most part, they're very open and they're very honest and they're very trusting about what goes on those pieces. And I think what it is just, the more I'm in there, the more I know, okay, this is a sensitive subject. I'm not going to use this, in the piece. So once it's done, it goes on different eyes. And then if there's needs to be changes, then I go back and I make those changes. Or sometimes I've had where hey, man, why don't you add this? I'm okay, sure, I'll add this, So you never know. And as years have gone on, the more of the ads have come into it than taking things out. So they've been pretty cool about it. I think this year was fantastic. They are so welcoming. There are scouts like, hey, you need to be in here for this. They need to be in there for this. Hey, come in on Saturday for this. I mean, I think the Sunday before the draft, I was in there probably for 7 hours, staying in there for 7 hours listening. And so, I mean, that's how much trust I've gained being in there. And I appreciate that so much. That it took, years for that to develop. And, now I have some of those scouting assistants or some of those scouts, they'll come over to me and they'll come up with other story ideas that don't have anything to do with the draft. That's how much of a rapport we've built in the last 4 seasons.
That's fantastic. What's the most difficult thing you would say about your job?
Oh, there's a lot of them, to be honest with you. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and I'm very blessed to do what I do. But the most difficult is when you're doing a series like With the Next Pick, you have so much video to sift through.
Mhm.
And you want to make sure that when you're going through the video, you find the right elements and the right storylines to put in there. There's been times where I'm like, man, I'll watch an episode later on, and then a month or two into it, I'll go through some of the raw video. I'm like, how did I miss that? How did I miss not putting that moment in there? So you want to. And quite frankly, another issue, another difficulty is trying to keep the pieces to less than 10 minutes. Quite frankly, here's why: because Twitter can handle videos that are not more than 10 minutes.
Mhm.
So I can easily put together a 15-20 minute, With the Next Pick piece together. Twitter doesn't allow it. And so what we decide to do is we try to keep them under 10. And then just for Twitter purposes, because there's a lot of eyes on, some people don't want to go to YouTube for longer forms and stuff. So what we do is we try to keep it 10 for the first 3 episodes, and then they let me go crazy for episode 4. And then, so they'll put a link on there, we'll put a quick, maybe 2-minute piece, 2-minute piece of episode 4 in there, and then we'll link it to YouTube. So it's, you see a lot of the comments from fans, and they go, hey, make it longer. And I like to, but we're kind of hands are tied. If Twitter can handle a half hour piece, by all means, we do it, but we got to really limit it back. So that's the tough part.
Yeah. I was going to mention that a lot of people say that, I see it all the time, man. We'd love to see a half hour piece, but you make a very good point about that. When everybody has their favorite With the Next Pick video that they put out, mine was Cat versus Cash, the one that you just put out this past season. It was a very interesting look inside of that aspect, that a lot of people don't know about. And I thought that was very, very telling. What was your favorite piece to put together and that you felt like was your best work?
Let me start with Cash versus Cat, because you make a good point, because that was a Chris Ballard idea.
Wow.
That was a Chris Ballard idea.
Thank you, Ballard.
Sure. And it took a lot of work to get Mike Bleav to agree to do it, because Mike's a very private guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very passionate about his job, and he's very private about that. I mean, he's got a lot of, talk about somebody who has a lot of trade secrets. It took a lot of work and a lot of trust for him to understand that, to let us be in his office when he was making calls, talking to players, agents. It took a lot of meetings with him. And finally he came walking back into my office one day, and I was showing him part of the piece that I was doing. And he kind of looked at it and he's smiling. Oh, I see what you're doing with it. And that opened it up to, hey, okay, I'll let you in the door on this and stuff. And it became a piece that I didn't, I was a little nervous. I was a little bit nervous, not knowing if I knew how to put it together. And that took a lot of eyes and a lot of help with, hey, maybe we should add this, or maybe we should take this out, and not from the football side, but it's like for the storytelling aspect with some of the producers that are in the building. Hey, man, I like him when he says this. Maybe, well, okay, does it make sense? And I tell you what, one of the things that being in his office is one of the toughest parts of this, blurring all the stuff that is on his wall. He can't, because that's, there's some trade secrets that are hanging up on his wall. So I got to go back in and I have to blur all that as well. But you make a good point. That was a heck of an episode. And I really appreciate Mike Bleav opening the door, allowing us to do that. And I appreciate Chris Ballard, coming up with the idea and then letting us to do it. My favorite part, quite frankly, and it might surprise a few Colts fans, but episode 2 last year, when we traded for Carson Wentz, I really enjoyed. I flew with Matt Conti, our PR director, to Philadelphia to pick up Carson, and we got up in the early morning, on one of Jim Irsay's airplanes to pick him up. And there was a flight to Philadelphia. Actually, we were supposed to land in Delaware to pick him up. Weather kind of threw us a little curveball. We had to land in Philadelphia. He met us there. We flew back, did the interview with Carson, followed him around. But I think I found a hook right off the bat when, I don't know if you remember the piece, when Carson and Frank Reich talked about when they first met at North Dakota State, where they were in the car together,
Mm-hmm.
going back to the Dakota State facility. They were the Bible verses they were quoting,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to play off of that to open up the piece to get people hooked. And sometimes it's difficult to really figure out how to open a piece. What do you got to do with this? And that was, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have it. We got it. And we were able to cross cut their story, because they basically told it the same way. And it was two different, it was two people telling the same story, and the cross cutting, and it shows how really tight at the hip they were. And I felt like once I was able to start flying along with that beginning, then the rest of the story told itself. And then at the end of the piece, we ended up bringing TY back. And so TY was being goofy the day we were talking to him, and that made the end of the piece. So I really, honestly, thinking about it, I really enjoyed that part 2 of 2021.
Wow. Yeah, just being able to travel and be there just seems like it would be a fantastic experience.
Mm-hmm.
The more I talk to you, the more jealous I am.
Well, I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky, and that and it, like I told you, it's going into excuse me, season 8 with the team, and it's you got to build trust with some of these people. You don't. It's a business, and they just don't let anybody just kind of jump on a plane and go. You have to, how to, get in. Like I told you, it's about doing your job. It's not being so much of a fan sometimes, because, you do got to be a fan for the most part, because you do want your team, you want your team to hoist that trophy at the end of the season, by all means. I think about it all the time, but on the flip side of things, you do have to remain professional when you do this when you have this kind of position.
Absolutely. So those of you that are listening, you don't see the actual video, but I'm seeing the black mat behind. Are you in the room where you guys make the gifts and stuff for the players? Like before?
No. I'm in our TV studio right now.
All right.
So So if you ever see Colts 360, excuse me, with Larry Overton, I'm sitting on the desk right now. So yeah,
awesome.
There's part of it right there.
Nice.
Yeah, yesterday we just finished up marketing shoots. And if anybody knows what marketing shoots are, it's when the players come in all fully suited and they stand in front of a green. Well, I'm in the green screen room right now, but we had a company come in and they built a set that resembles Lucas Oil Stadium. And so the players, they spend about 10 minutes where they're, it's fire up videos for social media. Right. Fire for social media, for green, spots, commercial spots, marketing spots. So yeah, so that's basically what they were doing. So we've had them the last 3 days, and so we finished up last night. The rookies came in Tuesday night, but we just finished up with a few guys last night, and so we haven't even broken everything down yet, to be honest with you. I think that's later this afternoon before we all head out for the weekend. So but it was pretty cool seeing the guys, and seeing some of those players we signed, and they're full Colts jerseys for the first time. Matt Ryan was in here on Monday, so doing a bunch of stuff. And I'm in the area where we also shoot the stuff for Sunday Night Football. So they're headshots where they look down and they look up. They stand for 10 seconds. And then when they do the starting introductions, Matt Ryan, Boston College, that kind of stuff. So they do that here in this room too. So we provide stuff for ESPN. We provide stuff for CBS. Actually this year, Amazon, because Amazon's got Thursday Night Football. So yeah, there's a lot we did here the last 3 days. It was kind of I was kind of like a conveyor belt of players coming in and out, and having them do stuff. Some guys do a little bit more than others. Some guys, like Stephon Gilmore came in, and we didn't have that much of him for fire up stuff in the stadium, so we had to shoot a little extra of him. So good guy, by the way. Fans will like him. Fans are gonna really like Stephon.
Awesome. So are we expecting some of those new gifts with the new players and stuff to start dropping up on social media sometime soon?
Probably once the season starts. We just got done with getting all the files into our Nexus system, and so I think with they'll probably in mid-July they'll start to produce some stuff, probably right before camp. So this is kind of the calm before the storm, I think, a little bit. We're June, I know we still have a mandatory mini camp in here about 2 weeks, but once the players are gone, it'll really start to slow down. But then you're going to blink, and training camp's going to be here, and it's fast. We're moving on content, and that's when we're going to take all of our stuff, our cameras, our tripods, all of our media, our editors. We all move up to Grand Park and Westfield, and we're there the entire month.
So like you put out last year before practices, you looked like you just put out a camera, and possibly, as players exit the building to get ready for practice or whatnot, you see, did you guys like put out a poster or something right before they leave to say, hey, this is the topic of the video?
Right. Oh, you got it. So what we'll do is, it's a GoPro. It's a GoPro camera. We put it on a tripod, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we did that in 2020 and 2021 because of COVID restrictions. So, so we basically did just set it out there, and they'll come walking up, and Amber Jerraud, who's our, head of our media, bright. Oh my gosh, this girl's so bright and incredible woman. Love running things by her, by the way. She came up with the idea. And so what happens is she'll write a poster board, and she'll just tape it to the tripod, and players will come up, and some want to bite and some don't, and by the end of the day, by the end of practice, then all of a sudden you got a little piece, and we do it we do the same thing at the end of wins on at home or on the road. So what we'll do is we'll have it sitting by the tunnel ready to go. And so we call it Colts Cam. So we'll do it home and away games. So we have a win. Hey, let's get some fun reaction, because guys, where they are when they win. You never know what's going to come out of their mouths. So, they're celebrating with the fans, and that's one of the reasons we have that up is, hey, we appreciate, we appreciate the fans as much as, because they basically helped with the win as well, especially at home games.
Do you ever get a player who's like, no, I don't want the GoPro on me for anything?
No, very rarely. No. You're going to get guys, you're going to get players, and I can't think of any at the top of my head that just aren't into it that day. Who knows what, maybe, they're fighting an injury or just they're working on something. No, I will say 95% of the players are so open to doing what we want to do, but you got to remember, they got a tight schedule. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times it's like, yeah, I would, but I can't, I got these meetings, right? Especially right now, they're so, especially the rookies. I mean, they're so tight on time with, their workouts and the scheduling and everything, because they have to get so much in before they leave for camp, before we leave for the summer and come back for camp. We had these marketing shoots the last 3 days. It was a tight schedule. Okay, you have 5 minutes with this guy, you have 5 minutes with this guy, because they got to go to the next stage, and so it moves pretty quickly. So, but for the most part, most players are pretty open to doing that content we ask them to do. It's in very few times that we got pushed back. There's been guys that, hey, I got to reschedule for another day, but that, you make that work. So, the older I get, I'm pushing 50 years old, maybe, 10 years ago, players weren't so open-minded to doing these things. Now, the younger players, the kids that are coming in are 23, 25, 27. They love social media. They love their brand. They'll do what they want, what you ask them to do. And that makes it easier on us.
I remember one time where you during a practice, you followed Nick Sirianni around,
Mm-hmm.
while he was doing his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do coaches really okay with that as well, or is that, because I understand while they're trying to train and coach players at the time, a lot of stuff like that wouldn't want to be out in social media for other teams to look at as well.
Very open to doing it, but so it gets to be kind of like with the next pick. So once you get done with the wire up, okay, so we'll be at camp. Let's say we wire up, I don't know, it was Gus Bradley this year which we'd have done already during they had a what was it, a local pro day we did, and we wired them up. These first of all, these coaches are so used to it, they get it, they know. But it's also, you get in the edit booth and you start editing, and you're not going to give away the trade secrets if they're, and typically during practices, they're not going to do that. They're not going to talk about trade secrets on camera. But if there is something, and we get done with the piece, we're going to kick it over to our PR department, because our public relations department, not only they're so good at looking at things that, hey man, this might not be a good idea to put on, but they also like to critique things. I tell you, Matt Conti and Christian Edwards and Hayden Clark and Pam Humphrey, everybody on our public PR side, they'll look at with the next pick. And a lot of times when you're in the draft room, you can't hear the audio very well because the microphones, you get guys in the back or in the room, you can't hear so I subtitle things, and it's kind of like writing a term paper. Sometimes you're gonna have a spelling or two. Okay, they'll look at it and they'll catch it and they'll call, hey Matt, I found it at 8 minutes and 48 seconds there's a misspelling. Thank you so much. They are just as involved in the content sometimes as we are, and so they're gonna look at a piece such as a wire up with a coach, and they're like, hey, this might be something we need to take out. Here's why. Something I might have thought of, or somebody on one of our other producers they don't think of. So they're very involved with that. And for the most part, every wire up, every piece is gonna get multiple eyes with our content department as well as the PR department. So we're all on the same page in case that there is an issue with one of these pieces where we may have to take something out, and they'll let us know. And usually it takes 5 minutes to get it out of there, and we move forward.
Awesome. Well, I think we're probably coming really close now to the end of our time with you. I was just curious, is there anything that you're doing or have plans on that you might want to let people know, hey, keep an eye out because we got something big in the works?
Right now we're kind of in limbo right now. There's nothing that I can really tell you that I think that's going to be crazy. I would like to put this is just me speaking, and I'm going to, we've had a few discussions, but maybe do a little more with training camp this year because we can. The last 2 years have been rough. I mean,
yeah,
it's just been your hands have been tied as far as your access. And I don't know, maybe you'll see more of that this year. I know that, there's been some ideas thrown around, nothing that we've really come to, determine that we're going to actually do, but don't be surprised if you see a little more access from training camp. And I think because I think people want to see more long form stuff.
yes.
People love the hype videos, and that gets people going. But I think what I'm so proud of with the next pick is the uniqueness and the access we have. We can give fans, and we really want to do that in other areas of the game. And I think that there's some areas in training camp we could probably do that. It will require some discussion. It will require some agreement, but I wouldn't be shocked if come August, you see some behind the scenes stuff there.
Awesome. Yeah. As fans, we all absolutely, I don't know. I can't speak for all the fans, but any content is just more content to absorb. Sure. So absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully this training camp, I might be able to see you and meet you in person.
Absolutely. We'd love that. We'll absolutely love that. And we'll show you around a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for joining. Could you tell everybody where they could find you on social media?
I think, here's the funny thing is I am not a big social media guy. Matt Wilkening 1 at twitter.com to a Twitter. And I'm on Facebook, and I think I'm Indy Matt 1 on Instagram. But quite frankly, Lawrence, I am not a big social media guy. I do look at it occasionally, but I'm so busy, and then I get home and I just, you just kind of want to tune out and hang out with the dog and my wife. And we have a boat, and I like to be on the boat with a beer every once in a while and listen to their music, especially this time of the year. So I don't know. It's sometimes I do follow quite a few I do follow what fans once with the next pick comes or some other pieces come out. I do follow what fans are request and what they want. And, you take that in consideration and an account when you put a piece together the next time. So, but Matt Wilkening 1 is my Twitter. Hit me on that.
That's great. I gave you a follow yesterday, but that's
good.
Great. That's great. Where, it's kind of like any other job where you're doing it all the time. And then when it comes to actually you doing it at home, you're like, I'm kind of, so you're social media guy, but not really big on social media yourself.
Definitely not. No, I was just having a comment. It was funny because I was going to have, one of the people I work with quite a bit here is, I'm sure, as is Laura Overton.
Mm-hmm.
And she's our producer and on-air talent and one of my closest friends in the world. And, love her to death, but I blow her smack a lot about, oh, you're on again, and in her defense, she says, well, Matt, this is my job, and she's right. So I'm like, I'm glad I don't have your job. I'm glad I do what I do. So I can never be in front of the camera. Matter of fact, I'm a little awkward. It's a little awkward today, but I appreciate you reaching out to me, and because I've heard some good things about your stuff.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well,
Mhm.
you did a great job,
Thank
and
you.
very, very informative. I don't think you gave away any trade secrets in
No,
this,
no,
so
no,
I
no.
appreciate it.
You got it.
Guys, go check out, if you haven't, I'm sure you have, all the Colts content that's out there, whether it's on Twitter, YouTube, Colts.com, right? I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
um,
Any platform you'll find, with the next pick, well, and yeah, we've got some really talented people working here, and and I'm going to throw their names out real quick if you don't mind. Connor Handel, and we have Sherry, we have Kimberly Skoog, and we have Mike Stevens and Kevin Connors. I mean, we have a whole plethora of people that do such incredible work and work hard at doing it. And so they deserve a shout out because it's just not me. And I got to get that across. I have so much help with the next pick, with ideas and shooting that, yeah, I'm the guy who's, hitting the buttons and doing the editing, but at the same time, we have so many idea people, and they come, and like, I'll give you an example real quick that, on the draft weekend, I had Kevin Connors, who was one of our senior content creation specialists. He stood in the corner of that draft room for 3 days and shot as much stuff. And so that's not easy to do. Trust me, when you're on your feet for the entire time and coming back and, hey, here, I got this video, or, hey, you can use this. Here's where you can find it. It's the collaboration amongst the entire team that makes what Colts production is. And I'm very proud to be a part of that.
well, thank you so much again.
Mhm.
This was Bleav in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen. That was Matt Wilkening. And this
Senior
episode, yeah,
senior content creation specialist. It's a long title, but that's what I am.
That's awesome. The longer the title, the more important you are,
Oh,
right?
I don't know about that.
This is Bleav in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And until next time, as usual, go Colts.
Thank you.